Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Eric Van Sluten, and welcome to our spinal workshop focused on getting fit while you sit. This also can be a dialogue of sit less, move more. There's so many ways that we can think about renovating our experience with sitting and then at large ergonomics. But let me introduce myself first. My name is Dr. Eric Van Sluten. I'm a chiropractor. I've been practicing at Holladay Chiropractic since 2011. And then previous to that at the Specific Chiropractic Center in Dublin, California from 2009 and forward. I love serving people, and I love educating them on how they can adopt better health practices. One of those is diving into our ergonomics. Just at large, let me say that if you're a patient at Holladay Chiropractic, know that we want to dig into your life and understanding the things that are holding you back from experiencing optimal results. And let me give an example of that. We could have a patient that comes into our practice that has tingling, pain, numbness down their shoulder, arm, and hand, and that's been going on possibly for weeks, months, or possibly even years, and they're looking for correction of that issue. And we do our job in assessing the spine for misalignments, or what we call clinically vertebral subluxations. We could be doing our job in that arena, and it's possible that if they're not experiencing optimal results, they could be sleeping on their stomach, rotating their neck. They may be doing improper lifting technique. They could be hanging their head over their cell phone for hours at a time. There are any number of things. They could be quilting. They could be doing reading their books with their head down. There are any number of things that mess up the work that we do in a patient's life. And it's not to say that the patient is blamed for not achieving the results, but they just aren't aware of the things that break their spine down. With that context in mind, understanding that sitting is possibly one of the worst things that you can do for your spine, really, really important to patients. Understanding and awareness that can inhibit their progress. And if they learn how to sit better, or if they learn how to vary their sitting influences, it obviously can help be part of a solution in not only resolving low back pain, but strengthening their spine, making their spine more adaptable, more movable, more suitable for their weekend activities, and obviously improve their performance. As a chiropractor, I'm not just interested in you getting by or just getting rid of the pain. I actually want you to perform optimally. I was just talking with a patient yesterday. I asked him what his goals are, and he says he wants to ski as good as he's ever skied. And at 50 and above, we know that we have to do some things differently in order to achieve those results. So having said that, get fit while you sit, or sit less, move more. Let me begin this dialogue by saying there is no doubt that sitting is one of the worst influences for your spine. And we know that because static or lack of movement to your spine is like death to your spine. The spine is made for movement. It has intricate muscles in and around the spine that feed information to the brain. And when there's stasis or lack of movement in the spine, your brain isn't getting healthy signaling that helps the brain understand what's happening in and around the body. That is a neurological principle associated with chiropractic care, one of the modern understandings that we've arrived at in why the spine is so significant to our overall health. So lack of motion is the number one thing that causes breakdown in the spine. If you are curious, there is a New York Times article that goes back, I think it's maybe almost 20 years ago now, but it talked about how sitting is the new smoking, and how, really we think about how many packs a person may smoke a day. We need to be thinking in equivalent terms to how many hours of sitting is a person doing during the day, and there may be equivalent damage to the spine and its relationship to our overall health. And so we need to peer into those places. So my first question for you is, how many hours a day do you sit? Do an audit of your sitting atmosphere and understand that if you are sitting more than a half hour at a time, and to the tune of 6 to 8 hours a day, that is massively, massively damaging to your spine. And so we have to become innovative and say, how can we begin to move a little bit? So the first tip is that if you sit for more than a half hour, I want you to get off of your tush, and I want you to move around the building. talk to a colleague or a friend, or just get some exercise and get some fresh air. Doing a couple push-ups. I don't know what's socially acceptable where you're at your workplace, but you could just get off of your seat and actually put a bouncing ball under you, or a balance ball that has elastic properties to begin to induce motion into your spine. So there's so many different ways that you can be inventive with this. Be social, change your kind of your focus for a few minutes. But I think that the significance of that, also productivity-wise, can be very helpful. Anytime that I've been stuck in a rut when I'm in a work atmosphere, honestly, if I step away and then come back, I'm usually more productive. So if you've been sitting more than a half hour, it puts what we call plastic deformation experience into the ligament tissues. That means that the ligament tissues are really not meant to sustain loads for that long of a period of time. So another option that you could look at is getting a sitting device. You can see this chair right here that we have, that has a device that we call the back vitalizer. Now this has a buoyancy to it. It has air in this bladder, and as I sit on this, it actually displaces to the side. So you can see that inflates on the side, and it takes pressure off of my tailbone. So as I'm sitting right now, the experience if I were to sit on this wood chair without this device is that I can feel the pressure build centrally from my spine down into my tailbone. That's not a healthy influence, especially if I'm sustaining that for hours at a time. So this is a device that actually keeps me in motion. We call this an active sitting device. Now, another position I can put this in is vertically behind my spine. I just did this on the airplane this weekend. I traveled with my daughter to a running event in Indianapolis. And now I'm actually motioning my mid-back. I'm pulling my chest up, and I'm retracting my scapula. This actually helps, and I don't know if you can see that from here, but this helps with the experience of sitting upright, and another way that I can vary the influence of sitting in the spine. Now, again, there are numbers of devices that do this. Sorry for the mechanical disturbance there, but number of devices that are active sitting devices. You can punch it in on Amazon and just say, active sitting. You'll find they look like kind of a small ring, and it's what kids often use that have ADHD. Let me tell you, that is not an ADHD product. It's a sitting product. It should be used as much by adults as it is for kids that have trouble paying attention or not moving in class. And so it's active sitting because we care about the movement, the constant influence of movement into our spine. Now, beyond just changing how you sit, you can also audit your sitting setup. You could use your existing chair and look at see if your knees are not at a 90-degree angle. That would be one problem. Maybe you're pulling your knees past that. You're putting too much pressure in creating a slouch in your low back. So, feel free to take a picture of your sitting approach. You can comment and tag it on here, or bring it into our practice and show us, or text me if you're a part of our practice here. But auditing how your sitting environment looks is really important. Maybe the armrests are putting too much pressure into your shoulder girdle. That can create chronic stress on that shoulder, and we could develop bicipital tendonitis. We could develop a variety of problems in that extremity. But that's another thing that you can do to improve your sitting experience. Alternatively, you can move to a sit-stand desk operation. We have a lot of patients that engage this, and they say, man, this has totally transformed my experience because I have the option to just gently pull it up, and I'm now able to be productive and shift my posture. They pivot differently, and they put variety. Again, the simplicity of the idea of varying the movements in which your spine gets throughout the day, very important here. So I love all of those things. Now, we will often recommend that patients take a break at minimum every hour. that break should include some social connection. That break could include some basic core exercises. So, getting on all fours, doing the bird dog. If you're familiar with that in yoga, you could do some abdominal bracing to just kind of change that awareness that your spine has in relationship to the core muscles that are surrounding it. You could do some extension activities. So on all fours, that cat-cow position is wonderful. And a lot of those movements, I think, are highly underestimated. You could crawl as well. Just getting on all fours and crawling back and forth takes the pressure of gravity off your spine and actually allows us to mobilize our spine and vary the mechanical influences that are influencing us, and often the things that would typically cause problems, we turn those into a variance of benefits for our spine. So that really is what I want to do today. Is I want to bring awareness to your sitting atmosphere. You could change the way you're sitting. You could do exercises in your sitting position, stretches and strengthening exercises. I didn't mention this, but the seated exercise where we're stretching our SI joints out is another great way to vary the influences into your positions. But all of these things are just designed to bring awareness and change to your experience sitting, and you're going to have better results with everything that I'm doing or your chiropractor is doing, or maybe you're working with a PT or otherwise, but it's going to benefit you greatly to do these things because I tell a patient, I control such a small portion of your day, but if you can actually leverage our work by changing all of these other influences, we're now going to actually have longer, more sustained results. And then when you move to maintenance care, we don't have these other variables of behavioral breakdown, essentially. So thanks for tuning in. Again, my name is Dr. Eric Van Sluten. I'm with Holladay Chiropractic. We're here in Salt Lake City, Utah, just loving taking care of our patients. So thank you if you are one of those patients. And listen, it's December 16th. I hope you guys have happy holidays. If you're watching this and it's the middle of 2026, well, I hope wherever you're at, you're experiencing some joy. But what brings us joy, honestly, is seeing our patients live happier, healthier, more sustainable lives. So thank you for letting us do that, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next workshop online here. Thanks.